Hi, my name is Lou Bloom, and I really like a job with your news studio. I studied a lot in online business courses over the past couple of years, and I really think it's important that you have the money to buy the ticket. You know, you got to have the money to buy the ticket to win the lottery, because if you don't have the money to buy the ticket, you can't win the lottery. And I really think it's important that you give me a chance with your news studio, because I really think that I can give you the right footage for your new studio. And before I get into too much more detail here, I think Tom Richardson should really just do this movie review, because I don't know. I really think that you're probably getting annoyed by my voice here, and that he should probably get on with his review. So hey everybody, that was my attempted um, take on Lou Bloom, who is a character played by um, Jake Gyllenhaal here in this new film called Nightcrawler. And I guess the director of this film is a newcomer, so I guess this was his directorial debut. I want to say he's related to Tony Gilroy from The Bourne Legacy, but don't count me on that one. I am just making a complete guess based off his last name and based off the producing credits, which Tony Gilroy and I guess Jake Gyllenhaal himself was producers of this film as well. So, in Nightcrawler, you guys, it's about a guy who wants to become a crime journalist. He's kind of a criminal to start out with. We see this right away. Not a lot of places want to hire him. He seems to have studied, these college courses online over the past couple of years, and he has this skill set. He does have a lot to do and a lot to provide to the workforce. But once again, because of his criminal record, he really can't find a job too well. And he's in Los Angeles, and he's definitely a night owl. He's out at night all the time. And one night he pulls over on the highway, and he sees an accident being filmed by a group called Nightcrawler crime journalists. And what they do is around nighttime, they're always driving around. They listen to police scans, and they get footage for the news either for the following morning or for later that night of crime aftermath, car accident aftermath, of the footage of they basically gather the footage that's going to be shown on the news. And so this fascinates Lou Bloom, and he really wants to get a job at this news studio that he manages to get into. And so he does some freelance work, and over the course of time, he's desperate enough to really make it big as this crime journalist that he's willing to almost make it look like he either was a part of the crimes, or it was almost too convenient for him to show up just at the right time to get this footage. There's even times where people in the news studio are kind of curious as to how he got certain footage, because certain things that he films would either require permission from the victim, or permission from a certain source. And so this film really plays off that. It really just shows just how desperate and how dangerous this guy is willing to pull these lengths to get the footage that he needs to for these crimes that are going to be reported on the news later in that day, or later that following morning, or whatever. And also, he gets the help of an intern that he hires to help him, film footage and get, like a second cameraman set up and everything. So, for the most part, guys, I really enjoyed Nightcrawler. It really was a really impressive film, and if we see this director direct more films, hopefully it's in the same quality of this, if not better. So, for the positives and negatives of Nightcrawler, I really liked the pulp comic film tone the film had. For those who saw Pulp Fiction, it definitely reminded me of the scene, where Samuel L. Jackson and Tim Roth are talking to each other in that diner near the end of the film and near the beginning of the film. When it's setting up for the movie. It had that tone to it. I really like that pulp comic film tone that this movie had. Jake Gyllenhaal also gives a masterful performance here. I won't be shocked if he gets an Oscar nomination for this film. He really did a terrific job. His performance was very much in the vein of Patrick Bateman from American Psycho, Christian Bale's character from that film. If Patrick Bateman became a crime journalist, you very much would get Jake Gyllenhaal's role in this film. It very much was, creepy, and, he's trying to be good, but he's just a really crazy man that will kind of do anything at any moment to get his way with things, and he's very good with manipulating people, like Patrick Bateman was in American Psycho. I also thought the film was a very good character study of these Nightcrawler film journalists and their lifestyle. It really showed just how hard they have to work, and kind of how the payment doesn't quite match up with the work that they have to do, and kind of how, studios just kind of give them the lowest possible dollar for their work, even though they deserve obviously probably way more for doing what they do. And so, with characters like Bill Paxton's character and with Jake Gyllenhaal's character, we really show just how hard of a job this is, and just how desperate and crazy these nights get for these people because of what they have to do for their job and what they have to do with the video camera and so forth. The film also does a very good job making sure these crimes feel very brutal. There's a lot of shootouts that Jake Gyllenhaal has to film in this, in their aftermath. A lot of people getting killed and people getting hurt, and the film does a really good job with really making sure that these scenes and these events really feel brutal. People are bleeding and people are dying, and it really does a great job really showing the brutality of what Jake Gyllenhaal had to film as a crime journalist here, as well as Bill Paxton's character whenever we see him in the film. The film is also a very secretive, dark satire on, people manipulating other people, people getting their way, and kind of a spoof of the news industry. Kind of the desperate things they'll do to, get their way, and all that stuff. So I really liked how the film kind of was a dark, secretive satire on the news and things like that. For my negatives of Nightcrawler, there really were a lot of plot conveniences. There was a lot of times where you're very curious as to how Jake Gyllenhaal showed up at that certain moment, how he just so happened to be at the right place at the right time to film this stuff. And then that goes to my next negative, where I thought Jake Gyllenhaal's character, he made his success too easily, because there's a long stretch in the film where he's, he really wants to make it big, and he's really not doing a good job with, keeping up with these other Nightcrawler film journalists, or these Nightcrawler journalists. And when he gets his success, it just kind of comes randomly. It's like, oh well, he's doing the exact same thing he was doing earlier, but now he's just really, really good at it all of a sudden. And it just, I don't know, the script felt very lazy at times, to tell you the truth. So I thought his success just came a little bit too easily for me. I also thought the film had some weak character development. Besides Rene Russo, the boss of Jake Gyllenhaal in the new studio, and maybe every once in a while we get to learn a little bit about Jake Gyllenhaal's character. But like, for example, there's an intern that he hires in the film that helps him film some of these night crimes, and not a lot of things we get to learn about that guy. And, besides Jake Gyllenhaal and Rene Russo, we really don't get to learn a lot about anybody. And so I gotta say, this film had some pretty weak character development for the most part. At least to me, it felt pretty weak. So Nightcrawler, you guys, I'm gonna give the film an 8.5 out of 10. I think it's a very good film, but it has quite a few flaws with it, like plot conveniences, Jake Gyllenhaal's character running into success almost a little bit too easily, and it just had a really weak sense of character development to me as well. So Nightcrawler is a very good film. I highly recommend seeing it. I can't quite say it's the best film of the year because it didn't quite make it into my top 10. At least at the moment, it isn't. But like I said, 8.5 out of 10 for me. It's very good. I highly recommend checking it out. But go into it knowing that it's not quite a perfect film. So Nightcrawler, pretty good film. 8.5 out of 10. Feel free to see it. It's pretty good.